continue. Yeah. So through what we want to share today, being the 6th week of our training, we want to talk about what Amazon is offering, what AWS is offering to data owners, what Amazon is offering to companies that are running infrastructures around the world. So that's what we want to look at. We want to see how they would be able to save cost for these organizations. We want to talk about the servers that they promise to give to the world and replace the on-premises servers, and how to be able to scale, how they'll be able to make them available across different availability zones. So we want to see how, when demands are going up, how these servers can ramp up in a vertical way or in an horizontal way. We want to see how auto-scaling groups can be created and our servers being placed. We want to see how we can create placement groups for these servers also logically, for us to be able to add very much more value to our organizations. That's what we want to talk about. So lots of what we're going to be doing here, it's the theoretical application. Before we now start doing hands-on, you would be required to get the bigger picture of what we want to do. Because without the bigger picture, you will not be able to apply it. Someone who has knowledge of the bigger picture will be stronger than the one who would only have just micro knowledge of the different services which we would provision today. So let's go down to our slides like we always do. We will create the theoretical background, see how we can have it applied to the everyday reality of the times. So EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. That's what we have today. We want to comprehensively look at it today. So Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2. This is just like we have been talking about VPCs. VPCs, outside VPC, the next name that you must be conversant with is EC2, okay? And this is how we would be able to provide scalable and computing capacity through the Amazon Web Services cloud. When we use these EC2s, we would be able to reduce the usage of hardware and the cost our organizations may incur. And it enables us to be able to deploy applications faster. And also to be able to launch numbers, thousands of instances, thousands of servers within a split second. And through it, we'll be able to create security walls, firewalls, like the security groups, and have it to protect our instances in our subnet. And through it, we should be able to manage storages. We've been talking about scalability, which we'll still talk about in a little way. All right. So there are features we must be conversant with when we talk about these virtual servers, when we talk about the instances in the AWS cloud. First thing you must know that the instances are the virtual servers. And we have what is called the Amazon machine images. And these are pre-configured templates. And this is what is powering your instances. And also you must be conversant with the various instance types, because you don't want to use much, or you don't want to use less for more money. through your knowledge about the instance types, you should be able to come up with tailoring. What instance that is perfect for your requirement by looking at the memory capacity, the storage capacity, the networking capacity, and so on and so forth. We've been talking about key pairs, how we can securely log in to our instances. And through this service, we should be able to provision all this. And also the storage volumes. We dealt with the EBSs. We created volume in our past classes. And we'll see how we'll be able to pitch it in as we move on with the creation of EC2. And like we have talked about, at the top level, Amazon has what is called regions. And then these regions are cascaded down into what is called the AZs, availability zones. And in these availability zones, we have the local zones also. Yeah. So just to remind us, the security groups are the virtual firewalls that allows us to protect, to give an immediate protection to our instances. And also, we taught ourselves about the virtual private cloud, like we owning our own spaces in the cloud. Okay, having said that, let's quickly get into this website and see how we can take a deep dive of the different types of instances which Amazon has. Let's see. All right. Okay, so with that link, let me see if I can provide a link. I can provide a link in the chat. All right. This one has a link provided. So once you get into this, you would be able to see the different classes, different types of instances that we have. We have the general purpose. We have the compute optimized. We have the memory optimized. We have the accelerated computing. Right, just hold on. All right, but you should know that 3 areas we must be conversant with. The very first one is computing, memory, and storage. All the classes which we have are wrapped up in these 3 areas. If all you're looking at is memory, so your options of the instance type would have to be within the memory area. If you're looking at storage, you want to optimize storage. And now what is optimization? Optimization is the ability, the enablement for one to be able to use less to achieve more. All right. So just use these 3 classes to categorize it. Now we have the general purpose, which is the very first one. And in the general purpose, we can see that we still have different kinds within it. So for instance, if you should click this M2G, you see that the Amazon EC2 M7G instances are powered by Amazon-based AWS Graviton 3 processor. They deliver the best price performance in Amazon EC2 for general purpose application. Best price, but it's not free. For the sake of this class, this is what we are looking for. T2 micro. That is in the T2 micro is in the general purpose. So once we start provisioning it, we would have to ensure that we have carefully selected this class of the general purpose. So peradventure, you are in an organization and you're looking out for the particular type of instances you must use. So you would quickly come to this page and ensure that you scan through the requirements, scan through the scope and configurations of the different kinds, and then to come up with a well-informed choice for your instance. Yeah. This brings us back to our slide. Let's go down. So then for the purchasing options, we have about 9 purchasing options here. The first one is the on-demand instances. If you have a short workload and you know you may not be wasting time or staying long, you choose this option, and it enables you to pay by the second. What about if you have envisaged that your project would last for about 1 or 3 years? The on-demand option may not be most cost-saving for you, and the reserved option should be encouraged at that time, because with it, you'll be able to save more cost. In the reserve area, we have 2 kinds. We have the reserve and the long workload. Then the convertible reserve instance. The convertible reserve instance is for long workload with flexible instances. That is to say, if you had gone ahead to make payment and you want to switch payment class, you can do that and use other options with the same money that you have dropped. Okay. Then we have the savings plans. We have the spot instances. We have the dedicated host. Okay, I'll take time to explain the spot instance. Now, the spot instances are for short workloads. It's very cheap. It's money saving, but it is less reliable. Yeah. Amazon can, in any time, take it from you and give it to a bidder or someone somewhere that is willing to pay more. So it's not reliable. If you know what you're doing is very serious, this would not be your option. If you know what the project you are on is going to span close to 1 year or more, this should not be your option. If you want to book an entire server and being able to control the placement groups or to come up with your own desired placement, the dedicated host becomes your option. And if you want a dedicated server and you don't want to share with any other customer the dedicated instance, that is secluded for you. Whether you're using it or not, you will be paying. Yeah, that is that. And every single services or functionality which we have explained in this training, you are still mandated to go further and conduct a research for a more comprehensive understanding. Let's take a look at what we have in the next page. All right, this is a diagram, and this diagram should be able to explain the architecture of what we have been doing. Like I said, the region is at a higher level. Can you see? In the region, we have the availability zone. So in a specific region, we may have different availability zone. But according to this diagram, we have just a single availability zone. Just one. And we have a single subnet. Okay, no, we have about, yeah, a single subnet, which is the public subnet. And then our instances is here, and the security group is forming the fence. Like we have been talking about it, it's a firewall that would have to give permission for IPs to gain access into our instances or to deny them. Then files generated in these servers can be saved in the EBS Elastic Block Storage. I know you're conversant with this because we've dealt more on it when we talked about the VPCs. We saw the architecture and we saw the different availability zone. So we have the internet gateway. Like we said, the internet gateway stands as a connecting point between your VPC and the internet. And here now there is a private key. In a server or a system outside your VPC. So just be conversant with this architecture. This is the cloud, and this is the region, and this is our own portion of the cloud. Okay, another term is the placement group. When you launch a new EC2 instance, the EC2 instance would be required to be placed in a kind of way. It's either you will be keeping it in a cluster of others, or you're spreading it, or you're creating a partitioning for it. All right. So that is about interdependencies. For a cluster, in a single availability zone, you would have all your EC2 instances created in a single availability zone. All right. And it's for low latency because they are pretty close to one another. Then the spread instances, they're not clustered, actually, but you have them just like an horizontal scaling, different instances spread out. And the maximum instance per availability zone is 7. As you can see, we have 7 here. And once you've been able to occupy that, you may move to the next availability zone. Yeah. Then the next one is the partitioning. Partitioning is like you creating different racks in a single availability zone. And it can scale up to 100 instances in a single partitioning. And like we have here, is good for Adobe. Adobe is for big data. Cassandra and Kafka. So you see how it is. This is about placement group. So when you're creating your EC2 instance, you will be required to have that provision. Let me take off this page. All right. Okay, let's get in and see what we can do according to the knowledge which we have. You log into your console dashboard. You have your EC2 instances. Then you go down to instances. I know you're very much conversant with this step. So you go down there, you click instance, and you come here to say launch instance. Sorry, my network is pretty slow. So you may want to pardon me. Now you create the name. Let's say teammates. Your favorite guy. Teammates. Teammates instance. So on. We go down to choose the AMI, the Amazon machine image we talked about. But at this level, we may pick the Amazon Linux 2 because of the kind of operating system we're using. But if you want to create your own, you can go ahead and create it, or you want to pick a specific one in the market. This leads you to the marketplace where you can pick a more suitable option for them. But for a quick start, let's take this. And we're on free tier. Everything you must do must be on free tier, or else you incur cost. So we pick this. Can you see? It's saying that and this is what enables us to virtualize. Remember, every virtual server which you have is running on a single on-premise server somewhere. And this is what is enabling the virtualization, the ability for us to create the thousands upon thousands of servers. Okay, you leave everything the same. You go down to the instance type. Like I said, in the general purpose, T2 Micro becomes our free tier option. Can you see? We pick it. Last time when we were setting up, we created key pair. But I went down to do some cleaning up to avoid some cost. But we can proceed without a key pair. It's not recommended. Or we can also click by creating a key pair. Let's say we proceed because we're keeping everything simple without a keeper, or else you may click here and create a keeper. Remember our architecture. The instances was in a subnet that was in a VPC, right? So, and also we have the firewall, the security group. So if peradventure you do not have a existing security group, what would you do? You create a security group by clicking. And where is our diagram? Let's quickly juggle in and see the security group. This is where we are. Look at it. The barricade on red, right? Simple, right? So we have to create a security group. But if there is an existing one, you go with this. All right. So I may want to pick up the default security group. Then we talked about the block storage, which was what we saw in our diagram. Let's just take a look at it again. Can you see it? That this is the volume. Let's get on to say we leave everything at the general purpose, GP3. If you want to add additional volumes, you hit this, and then you pick the option. If you want to add more, you do the same thing. But I don't want to add more, so let's take them off. Okay, that should be all. But I still want us to see some advanced details to see if we may find something that can better help us. So you get in by clicking the advanced detail. Then you scroll down. We talked about if it is a spot option, like we say, the spot option is not reliable. But if it is what you want, you say, ma'am, spot option. Well, let's uncheck it. And you go down. Let's say instance auto recovery. It's either you use the default or you disable it. You may also want to look at the shutting down behavior. It's either you stop it or you terminate it. When you stop it, it will not be in use in time. But you can come back, restart it. But if you terminate it, it's gone. And every other services added to it may also go away, like the EBS, which we talked about. So let's go down and see what else. Okay, we are now on our placement group. How many placement groups did we say we have? 3 placement groups. Let's see. Placement group, where are you? Okay. Look at it, cluster. In a single Z, we have them all muggled together, enjoying a closeness. So if at adventure we want to increase the speed of our servers, this becomes our option. And we may want to spread it by ensuring that we have 7 instances. But now we're going with just a single option. So this may not be appropriate for us, but except we are looking at an increase in demand in the future before we would want to go over and pick these options. So let's get done in. So we have to create a placement group. Let's see. You have to create a placement group. By hitting it, it brought us to this page. It's either you're continuing with it by putting your name, see, next place G. Say next place G. It's asking you to pick your placement strategy. You see that we just have three showing: the cluster, the spread, and the partitioning. Let's say cluster. Then you create, right? You create by clicking this. Okay. Now let's get back in. So let's move on. What is again? Let's move down. Let's see. Leave everything the way they are. Keep it simple. And you may want to connect through our user data. Our user data enables you to upload a file through your user data in the field. So let's go ahead to see launch instance. So we are successful now. Let's check. Okay, these are different options that you can tie your instances to. Well, let's go and view all instances. Wow, this is beautiful. This is the instance, CMX instance 1. That is what we have created. Yeah. Is that difficult? But it's much more than what the eyes can see now. That's why you still have to go on and ensure that you're taking it up from where we are. Right? Do not end all what you have known with just what we have offered you. There is much more. I'm going to give us some responsibilities at the end of this class to go and provision. Okay, and let's just say somebody can write it in the chat how to SSH into your instances. That is how to use the secure shell to connect your instances. You will go through the internet and you'll be able to find the option for the kind of operating system you have. Peradventure, you're using Mac, you're using Windows 10, you're using anything lower than Windows 10, PuTTY will be required of you. We may not be able to do all that now, but that is part of the responsibilities which I want to give to you. So you go and work on that and see how you'll be able to connect to your instance. Thank you very much, Augustine. Also, you're such a wonderful person. So what else? Let's get into our slide and see who is there. All right, what would be our next option? Let's see our training outline first. Okay, the Elastic Network Interface. Elastic Network Interface. Now we want to talk about network connectivity for instances. And in a place where you need 2 or more network interface connected to an instance, and you want the instance to connect and to communicate on 2 separate subnets. So which means you need the ENI, you need a network interface. It depicts a network card, a virtual network card within a virtual private cloud. You can create it, configure it, attach it to an instance within a single availability zone, which means the availability zone that you have your instances is where the network interface too would be. Yeah. You can attach it and detach it. We'll see how we'll be able to get that done. Now, whenever an instance is terminated, something happens. The network interfaces to go off. The default network interface is created by Amazon when you are creating it, they go off. But if you want it to persist, you have to create your own Elastic Network Interface. We'll practically look at that and see how to get it done. These are characteristics of it. It used a primary private IPv4 address of the particular VPC and a single Elastic IP address for every private IPv4 address. Yeah, there must be a place where we'll have to describe it, and it must have one public IPv4 address and one or more security group. All right, let's get in to see what we can do with it and see how we can attach and detach it. What should we do? Let's immediately terminate this instance, which we have just created. Do you see what I'm doing? You go in here and it's a terminate instance. They want to confirm if that's what I want to do. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Say terminate. So this is how it is. So let's get in and relaunch a new instance. And this time around, we're going to create 2 instances. Sorry, just hold on. There's, okay. We've unchecked there. Let's say 2 instances. It's a 2. And we go down, we keep everything the same. Let's pick this cheaper if it will be compatible with what we're doing. Let's move down and see the advanced settings. If anything is hidden in there for us to do. Okay, we're not requesting sports instances. Let's move down, leave everything the way it is. What else is there? Okay, simple, let's launch. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at the instances which we have created. You see, the very first one that is terminated is here. And the two we have created, we didn't give them a name. Let's name them. I'm going to use the name of my dear friend, Jacob Omogbesaya, but I'll say J-O. I don't think I case letter J-O-1. If I case letter will be permitted, okay, beautiful, be 22. Then J-O2, it's a very nice guy. J-O2. So these are the two instances which we have created. Let's go down to see the network of this, or networking of this one. And here now, we can see all the configurations. The network interface is one, right? Network interface one, which is this. But now, let's get down a little and uncheck this and get into network interface under network and security. So I'm clicking network interfaces. So it has to show us all the network interfaces which we have in the system. So you can see that we have two network interfaces unnamed. Let's name them J O N1, J O. Am I doing the writing? N2, right? No. Let's do this here. Let's use lowercase. That will be that can persist. Okay, it's not persisting. Let's go ahead to create a new instance so we can explain what we want to do. Go ahead and say create network interface. Now I'm going to give it a description. It's asking us of the particular subnet which we want to use. We already have the default subnet in the US EC2. So we will take it and we allow it to auto-generate the IPv4 address and the security groups. We have two security groups. We have the default security group and we have the launch wizard one. So let's pick one and create interface. Leave the tag. So we have the third one created. Let's get in here to see which one is the most recent one which we have created. Looking at the description, you can see Jacob Omogbesi. Yeah. So this is the most recent network interface created. So I haven't seen that. We may come here to highlight it and attach it. So let's see how we can recognize the two other. This is Let's recognize them and see the one that way. Okay, let's go ahead and attach. It's asking us to choose the instance. The name too was saved, J01. So we attach it to J01. See, attach it. So it's attached to J01. That is to say, that instance is connected to that instance. But now, since the network, we can also connect other things through it. And we can also detach it and move it to J02 by coming to detach it. What's detaching? Are you sure that you want to detach the following network interface? Yeah, I would say detach. Let's go. Okay, this is it. So now, having done that, we can see further go on to attach it to, okay, let's say, let's reload. Let's reload to come back. Sorry, that was this. Okay, let's look for our guy. This is our guy. That's the middle guy, right? We now go on to attach it to what? OMO2, JO2, and say attach. And peradventure, you don't want the instance to go away when you terminate, the network interface to go away when you terminate it. When you terminate your instances, you need to create an elastic network interface that you can control yourself. And that's the whole essence of it. You still want to maintain that line. So let's see if we can delete, if we go ahead to delete the instances which we have, it will go away or it will stay, which will go or which will stay. Let me go to the dashboard here. I hope I'm still on the network. If somebody can, okay, somebody can hear me, can I get the feedback?
Yes, you're alive.
Yeah, we
can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so let's see how we can terminate these instances. This is already terminated. We want to terminate the instances to see if our action instance settings, instance state. Let's say terminate. Yeah, terminate. Shut them down. Shut them down. Let's just give it wide. And then we'll go back and check instances. Let's get down to the network interfaces. Hold on, it's still shutting down. Wow, you see, they've all gone away. And it's only the one we just created that stays. And at the time on your project, you would be required to create this for the sake of tolerance, for the sake of fault tolerance. So let's move on to one to see. Let's get this out. Let's get it out, okay? It's not going to keep cost. So delete. Going cleaning up as you're moving forward. Where should we now go to our slide? To our slide, right? So I have not shared this slide since we started, right? And my friend has requested it. And I think I have to share them today, all the slides which we've had. I'm going to share them in the group so you can use it.
Thank you.
To guide yourself. It takes time to create it, but you all are nice people, so we can share things and grow together.
Thank you, Timis. God bless you.
Okay, now we want to talk about auto-scaling, auto-scaling group, scalability. What Amazon has been telling us, said what we are doing today is about what Amazon is promising his new baby. You know, that is what all we're going to be doing today. That which makes cloud. We've looked at the VPCs, we saw the subnets, we saw the security firewalls around the instances, and now we want to talk about the scalability, which we've been hearing, the auto-scaling. We want to talk about the high availability. What does it mean? So before we talk about auto-scaling, let's take a deep dive into higher availability and scalability. You have an application, for instance, and you are anticipating an increase in demand, an increasing load that you're anticipating in the future. Scalability signifies that the application will be able to increase its capacity. And that is what is called the elasticity in scalability. The ability for the application or the system to adapt to workload changes by provisioning and deprovisioning resources automatically to match the current demand as closely as possible. Seamlessly, somebody will not even recognize a downtime, and the machine is, automatically balancing the loads, redirecting demands to different instances like we have seen, but we still have to see it in the future. So we have two kinds of scalability. We have the vertical scalability, and we have the horizontal scalability. When you talk about vertical, you're talking about somebody who is standing. You're talking about an instance that has the ability to increase its capacity. Maybe you're moving it from T2 micro to T2 large. Yeah, you're moving it from T2 micro to T2 large. Right? And now what is going to be changing? It could be you are moving the CPU from a single CPU to a dual core CPU, or you are moving it from a dual core CPU to a quadruplet CPU. You may correct me if the pronunciation is not sounding well in your ear. So that's about what you do. You increase it. So that's why we say scale up and scale down. When the demand is ramping low, what happens? It scales down. When the demand is increasing, it scales up. Yeah. You can see it. Can you see the diagram here? Maybe this is the initial capacity, a single CPU, an 8 gig RAM CPU, which we have here, an 8 gig RAM server. and we scale it up to 16 gig. From 16 gig, it moved to 32 gig. That is everything about vertical scaling. Then, if this is not what you want to do, you just want to keep all sizes the same, but rather spin up new servers, Amazon has the option. Amazon is so flexible. So you may want to go with the horizontal scalability option. In the horizontal, it's either you're scaling out or you're scaling in. Now you are increasing. If you're scaling out, you're increasing the number of instances for the application. And it's very good for web applications. Yeah. Then when you are scaling in, that is to say the demand has gone so low, or the demand is going low. If the system is placed on auto scaling, automatic scaling, as the demand is going low, it's shutting down some of these horizontally spin up servers. Now, how does it do that? You look at the point where we manually imputed 2, we moved it from 1 to 2 when we are creating the instances, right? You saw it. I was looking at you, looking at it. So I knew you saw it. But now when we have it automatically configured, we're not going to manually be entering that. And that is what they suffer on premise. When demand is increasing, just like the banking system in some part of the world, when the demand is increasing, it is mandated that they go and acquire additional hardware servers, just like the way we went on to use our hands. And certain times, you may just arrive with an additional capacity and the demand has gone up or down. You find out that you need additional server, or you did not even need, you no longer need the one that you just acquired. So that's Amazon say, baby, I'm going to automate everything for you. Cry no more, spend no more. Make me your option, you know. Make me the man of your life. And this is what I'm offering. I'm going to do everything seamless for you. And I will reduce your total cost of ownership. Yeah, your operational cost will go down, your maintenance cost will go down, your capital cost will go down. And this is the idea. When you automate this scaling, you place them in an auto scaling group. And there's what is called a load balancer. And this load balancer, it's something that is the service that's going to be standing in between the instances and the customer's application. Let's see what. So now we've talked about the high availability. So high availability goes hand in hand with horizontal scaling. That's to say running application in at least 2 data centers. That is equal to availability zone. The goal is to survive a data center loss. That is high availability, which means if there is a challenge in a single data center, you now know that you have backups in another data center. Yeah, that is the meaning of high availability, which means it's highly available. It cannot be taken off stock. It cannot be misadvised. It cannot be taken out of the cloud because there is a backup. Peradventure, there is a challenge as well. Yeah, that's about that. So let's see the elastic load balancer. Now you now have understanding of the scalability so you can understand the elastic load balancer and how they work. The elastic load balancing automatically distributes your incoming traffic across multiple targets, such as the EC2 instance. Now look at the EC2 instances. Can you see the servers? See the server? You see the server? Now you see the clients in different areas, and you see the load balancer seated. The load balancer sits in there, and as the demand is coming, the load balancer is spreading them across the servers around. And if it is horizontal that is being enabled, what would it do? Equally, it maintains the same RAM size and it keeps spinning them up as it's coming and distributing the load that is balancing the load. And here now we have it. It's a such as EC2 instances, containers. Yeah, just like somebody fetching water into multiple drums. You may want to be spreading them systematically by turning a single, if you have peradventure, you have 7 drums, you may be turning a single bucket to each, or you decide to fill up one before you move on to the next one, whatever that so pleases you. The choice is yours. And this can take place in one or more availability zone. And now when we talk about one or more availability zone, we're not talking about the very first one, which we saw, the cluster. Something has changed in here. Cluster cannot be in our option because now we're looking at other availability zone. So partitioning can be cool, well suited for this. And one thing that the load balancer can do, the load balancer can carry out what is called the health check. What is the health check? The health check is the ability of the load balancer to be able to know if the servers are functioning well before loads can be redirected, can be directed to them. You don't want to pass a ball to a player that will not be able to make the best use of it. That's how it is, you know, when we play ball, we're just there in the field at the same time looking at the capability of all our other players in our team. You don't want to send it to somebody that may not be able to use his left leg very well in the place where another person that can use its left leg. So as you're doing that, you're carrying out the health check, looking at it as it gassed out. That's what the load balancer does, is looking at it. If peradventure, this one is not functioning well, is not healthy, it redirects it to this one. Let's move on. Yeah, this is another diagram. You can see EC2 instance in availability zone A and availability zone B. Yeah. Right. Very simple. Just understand this application. And then each time somebody asks you any question about it, you can get it clearly. You have it buried in your head. Okay. And then we have different kinds of load balancer. We have the application load balancer, we have the network load balancers, we have the gateway load balancers. Now, and we also have the classic load balancer, but the classic load balancer is obscured. The new generational load balancer, the new generation load balancers are the application, the network load balancer, and the gateway load balancer. The application load balancer operates at the application layer 7 of the open system interconnection model. And with it, we'll be able to efficiently distribute incoming application traffic. Remember the word, application traffic across multiple targets, such as the Amazon EC2 instances or the containers. These are the targets. We also have what is called the listener also before that listens out to the targets to know if that's where to go. So application load balancer, if it is an application that we are working on, this becomes our option. An application is at the layer 7. Then we have the network. If it is network that we are balancing, network is at the layer 4. Now this is a computer network. This becomes our option. Then the gateway load balancer is a service provided by AWS that enables you to deploy, scale, and manage third-party virtual appliances in the AWS cloud. It acts as an intermediate service between your virtual appliances and the AWS resources, allowing you to load balance traffic across multiple virtual appliances. You see that? Maybe you want to balance network within different virtual appliances that are not proprietary to Amazon. What is required for any time you are trying to connect what does not belong to AWS, you need a gateway. We talked about the storage gateway the other day that I told us that the storage gateway enables us to connect our on-premise data and have them to the Amazon services like the FSX, like the EBS, and so on and so forth. So you always need a gateway. You're moving an open source server to connect, to interact with Amazon servers. You need a gateway. So the gateway load balance becomes your option. What do we have here? So the next is the auto scaling. Like all the scalability which we talked about, you have to now automate it. So for the two functions, the load balancers and the auto scaling, it's a take-home assignment for brethren in the church today. So you go and see how you'll be able to provision them for yourself. And so we can move forward. I've given you the analogy. We have looked at it and how it works. All right. So that is about that. Yeah. So always get in there. And you have your load balancer under the same dashboard of the EC2. The same dashboard of the EC2, right? You have your load balancer. I've given you a take home, but let's see. So we get in there. You see what is in there for you. Is a boy or a girl? Oh, the network have started again. You just started it. No, I'm in the wrong place. Okay, it's loading. Can somebody hear me?
Yes.
All right. Okay. It's loading, taking time, right? So under the same area, you'll be able to see the auto scaling groups. You see the load balancer, you go to want to create it, and then you choose the option you want. Can you see the three guys that I said are in book? I also showed you the classic load balancer that was yesterday, but these ones are today. And if you may want to remember the three kinds, always think of GAN, GAN, gateway, application, network, for those of you that are going in for the AWS solutions architect, you now start memorizing things and then be keeping them. So you pick either one that you want to pick to create your load balancing. You say, create. I'm always skeptical now, but let's eat it and see what would happen. So you now conduct your basic configuration. You see, we took the gateway load balancer, right? So which means we want to connect other things that we want to connect other virtual servers that are proprietary to other organizations with those of AWS. So you may want to say, this is the VPC that every other thing will take place. You give it the name Jacob Mogbesi. Take it easy, okay? Take it easy. Take it one step at a time. LB. Then you move on to choose the availability zone. You may say, and you pick the subnet, all right, the default subnet. It may not be default, it may be a subnet created by you, but we did some cleanup. Now, they're asking us to create a target group. Okay, say, leave it, don't create anything, let's see. By getting to this place, you have done so much. And then you hit this, what happens? You have created the gateway load balancer. But I think there is another step in the future. But I'm just being careful not to incur what I incurred the day before yesterday. So that's about that. Let's quickly go back to see the auto scaling. Now you can understand the auto scaling. I'm going to call on two persons. Augustine, you're going to go first to explain what you understand by auto scaling. But before that, let's see the auto scaling. Augustine, be warming up, but do not distract yourself. Watch. So you see the auto scaling. Auto scaling group. So this is how we group them. And after this, we get to this. What's happening to my network today? Who's behind this? Okay. All right. And this is how it works. Let me see. This may be the active ones. The scale out as needed, which means it moves on to these. This is the desired capacity. But what if something just happened and all of a sudden lots of customers are requiring our product? What should we do? Let's create additional, let's give it an ability to still move forward. And that is why we have the maximum capacity. But not that all of it are in use. Yeah. At this point in time, the surprise in Amazon EC2 auto scaling features have no additional fees beyond the service fees for Amazon EC2 CloudWatch for scaling policies, and to other AWS resources that you use, visit the pricing page. Let's see. We'll give you the group name. JO AU ASG So you may want to create the launch template. Once you have that, look at the various options. You choose the instance launch option. You configure the advanced options. You configure the group size and scalability policies, and so on and so forth. Let's say create the launch template. Somebody remind me that you created the launch template. To let us move, you see. I had all this cleaned out, so I wouldn't want to incur additional cost. Something happened day first day when I was creating this, and I had to call the Bank of America to bail me out. Yeah, the network is slow. So while we wait on that, let's see what Augustine has for us. I'm going to stop the recording. Okay, let's keep it. Augustine, are you there? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you have to
the
share?
auto scaling. So we configure the auto scaling so that we don't have to manually increase our resources or decrease our resources based on the demand. So with the auto scaling, it solves that problem for us. It saves us the time of manually having to adjust our resources when the demand is high and then when the demand is low. So it takes out that work and do it for us automatically, even when we are sleeping.
That is great. That is great. Thank you very much. You are just the person I wanted. And my dear friend, Francis, what do you have to say about load balancers?
Load balancers. It's a form of auto scaling. The elastic load balancers distribute the incoming traffics across instances.
Come back with it. It's like I missed something when you were saying that. Hello?
Yeah, hello.
I said, come back with it. Come back with your explanation.
I mean, when the distribution of incoming traffic across instances is a form of auto scaling. Hello?
I'm giving you 55%, somewhere above the average.
Okay.
But I'll give you addition. You scored 35. No, not 35, 45. I just had to add 10 based on our relationship. Based on our relationship. So
okay.
Who else want to help? Or who else want to, add
Can
to
I
what
help
he
you?
Who?
I want to add to what he said.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so the load balancer, it looks at the incoming traffic and then it considers the workload on each of the instances. So the instance that is not having enough workload, then it directs the traffic to that particular instance. And it also considers the health of the instance at the time of trying to distribute the workload. Yeah.
Okay, wow, thank you very much. You just hand your brother 89%. He's holding you a bottle of Coke. But all right, let's hand our recordings, and the remaining is not too difficult.